Should teachers strike in the UK? Well, you see, I'm quite split on this. I can't really make my mind up whether they should or shouldn't, and it becomes quite complicated because you work with colleagues who really do care about the profession, but also want to be paid well as well. You see, for me, I'm quite split, and I'll tell you why. I'm a senior leader. I've been working in senior leadership for over 5 years now, and I work in an all-through school that's from nursery right through to sixth form in a school based in North London. And obviously, during COVID, the school was closed, well, partially closed, and the impact this has had on children missing out on their learning and not being able to develop those key skills and attributes whereby they're working with one another, harnessing their understanding and knowledge. This has taken a significant, it's had a significant impact on those kids. And what school closures mean is that there is lost learning, and it's not beneficial for anyone. Teachers don't want to strike. Teachers don't want to be away from the classroom because it's something that they enjoy doing. However, the situation we're finding ourselves is that, with the rise of the cost of living having a substantial impact on all of us, across the United Kingdom, it's becoming very difficult to manage that. And what's quite interesting is that the government did announce that all teachers will receive an increase in their pay, but what they haven't done is they haven't made this means tested. Essentially, what they've done is just said to schools, right, you're going to give these teachers a pay rise, and you're going to use it from your existing budget. So let's just say a school has £1 million budget to spend on resources, extra equipment, reprographics, for example, or repairs to the school, or buying IT infrastructure, etc., etc. That's been literally impacted because now they have to use that money towards staff, and sadly, head teachers are in a position where they can't afford to, make extra payments, etc. And what we're also finding is the cost of living has impacted not just households, but businesses and schools alike as well. Schools have to pay electricity bills and gas bills, etc., to make sure that the lights are on, the heating's on, and it has been quite cold as well, as you know. So obviously there are quite a lot of issues that we're finding that are taking place in schools at the moment as well. So there's a split decision here. Now, suggestions, what can we do? Now, for me, I think what the government needs to do is come to the negotiation table and be realistic here, right? I think on both sides, the government is not going to give the required pay rise that teachers want, or the unions that are arguing for, and neither are teachers going to, the teachers aren't going to get the pay rise that the unions are asking for, and the government is not going to give that amount of pay to them anyways. But what I think they could do is say, look, over a course of the next 2 years or 3 years, provide a timeline and say, look, at this point we want to raise, we would like to give you a pay rise by this much, and moving on into the next year we want to give you a pay rise by this much. That way it's an open line of communication. We can see where we're headed. We can see how this is going to benefit us. Sadly, we're in a position whereby the government has had to go down the line of austerity, even though they brush it up with something else. But the idea is, there has to be clear lines of communication here, and we need to be realistic in terms of what we can achieve and what we can't. What we're also noticing at the same time as well with these strikes is that the workload for teachers is going up quite significantly. We're finding that there's four main issues that are taking place in schools right now, which are quite pertinent. Number one, massive mental health crisis among schools up and down the country. We're finding that children are not able to cope with certain aspects of their mental health, and this is impacting them, their well-being, their quality of life, them enjoying school. And obviously staff want to help them, but what we're finding is the level of support that we're used to be given by the local authority has also diminished. We're finding that local authorities aren't able to provide that level of support, the resources that they give to schools, even supporting students who have a special need. We're finding that local authorities have had to pull back some of the support and making it more onus. The onus is more on schools to provide that support, and sadly schools don't have that support. Why? Because you're finding that teachers who have been in the profession for a significant amount of time have left or are leaving. More people are leaving the profession because they just don't feel valued enough, and sadly this is having an impact on the children. But the third point, what we're also finding as well, is attendance is playing a major part. I lead on attendance as one of my responsibilities in the school, and again, nationally, it's a problem. We're finding that children take time off, and it's very difficult to encourage some of our students back into school, especially because with COVID, they feel that they can have that time off. And again, it's a range of issues. Each case is different to one and the other. However, attendance nationally is an issue, and with the support of the local authority through the welfare officers, education welfare officers, we can only go so far. Again, that comes at a cost to the school, and again, depending on the level of support that you can get, it depends on what you can buy in as well. And also the increases in illnesses as well. These are some of the aspects that are taking place at the moment, and it's having a substantial impact on how schools are running. So I think what we have to take into consideration is that whilst we're finding that we have all these issues, there's more work being created for teachers who are not necessarily trained to deal with some of these issues, are finding that they've had to spend more time getting to know the students, supporting the students, on top of planning, teaching, marking, and then repeating that cycle again. And then to accompany that, there's a living crisis that's taking place, and teachers are also struggling to live and afford to live a good quality life. Now, as I mentioned, school budgets are tightening. We're having issues in schools. Now, the question I asked at the beginning of the video is, should teachers strike? Well, I think this video sums it all up, doesn't it? Anyways, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.